everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy summer. I'm just so thrilled to be here again with all of you. And today we have one of our board members at United Latinas, Monica Adwani. I'm just so excited to have you here with us today on this very important topic about building our community, which I know is something that you are very passionate about and you do in a lot of different ways, wearing a lot of different hats. And that's also part of what we do here at United Latinas, building that community, because it's something that we believe it's critically important for us to be able to continue to grow and create positive impact. So thank you, Monica, for making the time.
No, thank you for having me. Such a pleasure to be here and always good, to collaborate and do things together. That's what we're here for, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get this going. I know that for you, building community is part of your mission personally and through all the things that you do. But would love to hear, like, from your perspective and your experience, why do you feel it's so important for us to create a community?
Yeah. I think it's really important because you don't want to experience the moment that you say, I feel alone, right? And for me, about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, I went through that moment where, like, I embedded myself so much into what I was doing that I truly forgot about the people that actually, could help me succeed or that wanted to see me succeed or my friends, So I submerged myself in work so much that the moment I decided to leave that job, my mis lazos, no, like everybody that I knew was so far away because I hadn't taken care of them. I hadn't communicated with them. So I think, building community for me is just a way of understanding that there is something more than just work or a company or being an entrepreneur, because without your community you really can't do anything, right? So for me it's more about understanding that without them I can't be who I am, and I need to honor that. So that's the reason why community is so important.
And you touch on so many important points, and I've been through exactly what you're saying. I went through that
Yeah.
5 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago. And you touch on one key point. It is that we embed ourselves in our work. And we don't realize that because we're passionate individuals, right? And we give it our, what did I say, like our 110%, and don't realize the importance of nurturing our relationships. They always come, second, or there's always a good excuse for not reaching out. Maybe you reach out to the people that are close to you, or maybe that you interact with regularly, but again, it's just for work. And then to your point, when work goes away, then we're left like with with not a lot of
Yeah.
other people, or our community becomes our work. So also when that goes away, then that community that we built, whatever it was, goes away. And I see that in a lot of the clients that I have. When they come to me, they're like, I did not build a network, and now I don't know like who to reach out to figure out the next step of my career. So that I think you touch on these very important parts of the importance of nurturing our relationships beyond just work.
Yeah.
And in your, like, you've gone through this process and then you woke up and realized, oh my God, it's important. Like, how have you been able to then evolve from there, in such a short time?
Yeah.
Because building a community, it's not something that you just go like this and it happens.
Right.
uh,
Right.
but you've been able to build that. Like, how? Tell us how.
Well, I think the first step was understanding what I was passionate about and what, you know, how could I diversify my network, right? Like what, how can I diversify my community? Um, I love reading. I do insurance. That's my bread and butter, right? I actually love supporting women, and there is these all different elements and components into what I do every day. I have a daughter, I am a wife, I am Latina, but I have a lot of American friends, right? So it was understanding how did I needed to diversify my community in order to make it all work together, where I am not prohibiting myself from enjoying what I am doing, right? So, it is important. Something that I really, really, really learned is that not because you do X job means that you only need to surround yourself with X amount or X type of people, right? Because everyone can have an impact in a different way based on the messaging that you're providing to that small group, right? So how it's actually a very deep question, because it has to do with what you individually really wants to pursue or wants to achieve. But what I can say is that understanding that diversification is important is the key to actually have success when creating community. Like, for example, I host the book signing events. The book signing events have nothing to do with insurance, has nothing to do with, like, it's not a business, it's not anything I really do make money from or anything like that, right? But it is my way of, one, supporting women, two, getting myself and my company known out there of what I do, but most importantly is about bringing people together and giving back to that community that supports me, so then they can create those lazos in between them as well, because it's not me having all the outreach, right? It is important for me that you, Ileana, knows the other five other women that might be within your same line of work or that can support you. It's important for me for you to know them, because I don't know how can that community around me can help you unless you know them, right? So it is creating that diversification of intertwining the different passions and the different things that interest you by supporting other people around you that is supporting you. So I know it sounds like super complicated and everything, but it's really not. It's about introductions. It's about, understanding when is business, when is a good time, when is girls' night, like it's just having a balance in between everything that you are doing. And there is going to be people that is just going to be for business, and there are going to be people that are going to become your real, real, real good friends, right? So understanding how you want to move and how you want that people to respond to you, that is not attached to your work, it's attached to you, right? For who you are, what you bring, and what you can offer. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense.
It absolutely does, and I love that you touch on a lot of different layers, because especially for those of us that are introverts, and I know that for me, building a network was a big challenge, because I was like, I don't want to put myself out there. Like, I don't even know where to start. It just feels awkward
None
and
of us do.
uncomfortable. All right. It's like, you're in the networking event, like, and you feel like that sore thumb, all eyes on
Yeah.
you. But you touch
Yeah.
on very interesting points, that these introductions, these connecting with other people, it's really about what you say, right? Learning about what's important to other people, what are their passions, what are their purpose, what are they there for, what are they looking, what are their challenges, their barriers, and then find those common interests. Like, the common
Yeah.
interest could be both women entrepreneurs, or we're both, women with kids of the same ages, or we're both going through the same challenges at work. We both have a nasty boss that, just we can't get off our backs, or we're
Yeah.
both going through financial, whatever it is. That brings us together, that we can then build a connection, build rapport, and then that sort of expanded. And the other thing that I love that you said, it's also not only about us, but it's about how can we connect others. I think it, to me as an introvert, it helped me lift the weight off my shoulders, thinking I have to make a connection with you, Monica. It was more about, how can I learn about you? Because maybe I can introduce you to someone else that I know. And
Yeah.
putting it on somebody else sort of
Yeah.
removed me from the anxiety of, oh my God, do I have a relationship? Like, how do I ask the question? It just helped me, because we love to help people, or the majority of us love to help people. So putting that hat on of, how can I help you? How can I help somebody else? It just sort of made it easier than, uh, how am I going to
Yeah.
connect? What question I'm going to ask? This is going to be like
Yeah.
awkward, right?
And I think, believe it or not, I'm an introvert as well. And it just taking practice for me to like be okay outside of the comfort zone, right? But what I noticed that made me more successful was being a connector rather than wanting to connect. It's a very different thing, right? So, I will be scared of sending a message because I didn't want rejection, right? Like I will be like, let's say it's not in person, we're on LinkedIn. And it's easier to ignore people, right? Because if I read your message and I never reply back, like I'm never gonna go back to you, right? Like because you didn't find that it was interesting. But I think our fear of rejection is what makes us kind of like maybe never taking that step, but digesting that rejection, it's actually the practice that we have to become okay with. um, because you're always going to be, it's a 50-50 chance, right, that you will be rejected or that you will have a successful conversation. But we have to overcome that fear of rejection by saying, okay, maybe our time is not now, but maybe later, right? So always be okay with being rejected. And that takes stomach, and that takes a little bit of understanding and be okay with who you are. You cannot let that bring you down, or get that imposter syndrome synced in, because it has probably nothing to do with you. It probably has to do with the moment at where that person is at that time, right? So becoming a connector rather than wanting to connect sometimes is easier, because I am really really good at saying, oh my God, I just overheard this person, and I think they can be really really good connection to Ileana. So I am just going to put them on an email or a message or a DM or something together, and I will let them figure it out, right? For me, that's very easy to do because I retain a lot of the conversations, and I'm very bad with names, but I can retain a lot of the information that people talk about, right? um, and that has helped me more than actually me trying to reach out, going to networking events or something and trying to start a new relationship, because then that person pays it forward and say, hey Monica, I met this person, I think you guys should connect. Here is an intro, get on a one-on-one. And once that barrier is down, it's a lot easier for you to have a conversation. So I will say that if you want to create community, become a connector instead of wanting to connect, or wanting to like do that cold outreach, because it has more results. Being that middle person where you're like bringing value to others rather than stating, here I am, talk to me. So I think, I don't, from my perspective, that works for me. For others, I mean, there is people out there that have that quality, and that's okay too, but you have to figure out what works for you.
I love that because mindset is critically important, right? The mindset that you go into these conversations. And I love the mindset. I actually wrote it down of, being a connector versus wanting to connect. Because I think for many of us who are introvert, that can help sort of ease the awkwardness of the conversation and adding that value. How do you find the time, and not necessarily like you because I know that you also wear a lot of different hats, but how would you
Yeah.
recommend to find the time? Because this, it is relationship building and it does take time, even if it's an email, even if it's you need to be intentional. How,
Yes.
what do you recommend?
Well, for me is 20 minutes a day. Basically, you don't have to talk to everybody every day and all the time, right? Like, you don't really have to do that. But you really have to make sure that when you reach out, that it's not about you. And that's very, very important. Um 20 minutes a day. In 20 minutes, you can probably touch base with maybe 30 people. But if you decide to make phone calls, 20 minutes a day might be one person, right? So during the week, decide, am I going to make phone calls on Wednesdays? Am I going to send messages Tuesdays and Thursdays? Am I going to go to networking events on Mondays and Fridays? How are you going to show up, right? And if you do that, even if it's once a week or twice a week, you don't really need more than that, as far as you are showing up authentically, right? Like, I cannot tell you how many messages I get on like LinkedIn and Instagram that it's just, I know I cannot swear here, but it's like, whatever. And I just completely ignore them because it's like, oh, I wanted to connect. I see that you are whatever at this company, and actually my product don't do that. Like, everybody's gonna ignore you. Okay. If you're sending me messages like that, I don't even read the two sentences. I just go delete, right? So show up authentically and make sure that you are um providing value to people. If you're gonna call me, just to start with, like, hey, how are you? How's your kid? How's the family? I saw you were, I don't know where this weekend. Social media is a wonderful thing. You can find everything about people there, right? Um, so make sure that you are human. I was actually uh, teaching the class of a community that you recommended me to and it was like, guys, it's back to basics. Just keep it human. Shake the hand, say how you doing, where you from, like, you have a nice tan, did you travel recently? Like, it's just easy to just start a conversation that way, right? It doesn't have to be, it's not a pitch contest. You are not in front of a jury trying to impress anybody. You're just there for people to know who you are. When you are touching base with people, calling people, messaging people, the least they want to know about you is what you do for work in the first sentence. So I will say, think about how you want to show up, how many times, and when, because you can schedule that on your calendar and then focus on what you need to do for work or, your passions or whatever. But it's really important to always touch base with people every single day, every single day. If it's just happy birthday, or oh, that was so nice, I love that. Like, it can be something simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, but show up 20 minutes a day. That's all it takes.
I love that. And it's funny that you say the 20 minutes because that's something that I also got from somebody else that told me that that's what they do. They just carve. It's like you scroll 20 minutes a day anyways in social media. Like you can use that same time instead of scrolling, like to make these meaningful connections.
Yeah,
And to your point, they have to be meaningful. They have to be authentic. It's not like just reaching out because you're reaching out, like clicking, right?
yeah.
If you're doing that, then just don't, because it's not going to get, the rejection is definitely going to be there. um, we're running to the end of this, but we do talk about these connections, these benefit to others, but in a way, it's also about having these mutually beneficial relationships, which means that we still get the benefit. Maybe we don't start, that way,
Mhm.
but there is a benefit to us that helps us grow professionally, personally, and we also need to acknowledge that and be aware of it. Any thoughts on that, and final sort of recommendations?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything we do and everyone we surround ourselves with has a purpose, right? And I am not saying that, you don't need to talk about business, or that this won't have any type of uh, reward to you, because it does. It all depends. What is your ask, right? But you need to establish trust and credibility, and you have to establish a relationship before any of that happens. I'll give you a great example, right? Valerie, which you know very well. Um, I, was having conversations with her, and I just really didn't know how to help her with her business, because, the people I deal with is not her ideal client. But as we were having conversations, and, I got a little health issue, I told her, I was like, Valerie, I really, really need an accountability partner, because, I'm falling off the wagon, and this is not letting me concentrate. And I have, this list of things that, uh, I felt confident to tell her, because I knew she was going to give me good feedback, because I have established that trust and that relationship with her. And it turns out that she also was looking for the same thing. Just didn't know who to ask. So every Thursday we get together at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we walk in the park. So we hold each other accountable for talking strategy, and for doing our exercise, and to make sure that we start with a clear mindset for the day, right? And we spend an hour just going around the park, getting our exercise done, and like doing a lot of things, right? But I wouldn't been able to ask her for that, or her having the conversation with me, if we didn't establish that trust. That, it took a lot of meetings, a lot of, events, a lot of collaborations. But now, not only we help each other professionally, we're helping each other personally, right? So that's the power of creating community. Whatever is that you built on trust, credibility, and also um, just that relationship, that deep relationship that really, really matters, it will bring you a lot of results in different ways that you might never imagine. So, and then the thing is, I think people think that they need to have, 300, 400, 500 people around them, and you don't. You only need couple good ones, couple good ones that, you can establish that trust. I always say, surround yourself with the skills that you don't possess, and diversify the people around you, because if you just bring people around you that have the same way of thinking, work on the same industry, you're never going to get that diverse collaboration or conversations, right? So it's really important to have people around you that is going to challenge your thinking, that is going to challenge the different ways how you operate personally, professionally, and all these things, because they're ignorant to what you do on a daily basis, and that is a great thing to have, right? So I think, overall it's everybody's choice, but that's kind of like how I prefer to do, my community and my collaborations and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, we all get something very valuable if we've been able to establish that trust with the community that we have built around us.
I love that. I really do. And I think you touch on the last important piece that I just want to highlight. The mutual relationships are for the long haul, right? It's not just the connection that we did today so that I can, maybe get something tomorrow. You never know where it's going to take you. Like,
Yeah.
you and Valerie taking, this journey together of meeting, building that trust, and now holding each other accountable. And I've had many relationships now that they started somewhere and now they've turned into beautiful partnerships as well. So
Yeah.
I love all of that. And thank you so much, Monica, for being here and for sharing, your thoughts, your experience, your expertise. That's exactly what we want to do here at United Latinas, to help build that community, especially for those of you, like many of us, that we're the only ones in our sort of area, right, in our environment. You can
Yeah.
find in United Latinas this trusting community of women who are not going to judge you, who are just going to be here for you for whenever you need something. Because you're right, like we sometimes need that extra support that on our own would be very difficult to accomplish. So thank you so much for all the work that you do. And just a quick notice, we have actually our Latina leadership meeting happening this Thursday, where we're going to bring again everybody together, either United Latina members and people who are just joining for the first time and trying to see what we're all about. So don't miss on that opportunity. You'll be able to find that registration to our event at our website, unitedlatinas.com. And we're also kicking off our first Latina Speaker Circle event, and that is happening on August 17th. You can also register on our website. And that is for those of you that are professional speakers or that want to become a speakers. It's going to become a monthly event, to be able to hold each other accountable, to support each other, to teach each other, to learn from each other, so that we build these incredible skill set, which is public speaking, which we need more of to be able to thrive in our own environment. So don't miss on that one. And then hold the date for our now historical Hispanic Heritage Month event that's scheduled for October 12th. You can also register on our website, and that one's also up available right now. So hold the date on that. Thank you so much, Monica. And we'll continue to be together in all of these
Yes,
wonderful events.
100%. And for those listening out there, please, 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 if you haven't looked at the membership of United Latinas, please take a look, because it's definitely an amazing organization and we would love to have you. So please join us.
Thank you. Join the community. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.